Title: The Secret Ingredient. Hook: my mother's cooking was a weapon. And I was her only target. The kitchen was a war zone. Every morning, I'd watch my mother, Maria, her face a mask of concentration, hunched over the ancient stove. The house would fill with the scent of burning chili and cumin, a smell that was less about food and more about punishment. Each meal was a test I was destined to fail, a burning gauntlet that left my throat raw and my eyes watering. "It's for your health," she'd say, her voice a flat, emotionless echo, as she watched me suffer through her scalding, spicy creations. For 20 years, I thought she hated me. I thought it was her way of asserting control, a bitter revenge for some forgotten slight. Every dinner was a silent battle of wills. I'd choke down the fiery stews, the peppery soups, my face flushed, tears streaming down my cheeks. She'd just watch, her gaze unreadable, and then clear my plate with a cold finality. I remember the first time I tried to rebel. I was 12. I pushed the bowl away, my throat burning, and screamed, "I hate you. I hate your food. Why do you want to hurt me?" Her hand froze mid-air, the spoon hovering over the pot. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Pain. Regret? But then it was gone, replaced by that familiar steel resolve. She walked over, picked up the bowl, and placed it back in front of me. "Eat," she said. Just one word. But it carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken things. I ate. I always ate. The other kids at school would trade lunches. Sandwiches. Fruit. Cookies. I'd sit alone in the corner, my lunchbox filled with whatever fire-breathing concoction my mother had prepared that morning. They'd wrinkle their noses when I opened it. "What is that?" they'd whisper. "It smells like death." I'd smile through the pain, pretending I loved it. Pretending this was normal. But inside, I was dying. Not from the heat, but from the shame. The shame of being different. The shame of having a mother who seemed to delight in my suffering. As I grew older, the meals grew fiercer. Ghost peppers. Carolina Reapers. She'd grind them fresh every morning, her hands stained red, her eyes distant and focused. I'd watch her chop, her movements precise and deliberate. She never tasted her own cooking. Never. She'd just watch me take that first bite, her expression unreadable, her hands folded neatly in her lap. And when I'd gasp for water, my tongue on fire, she'd simply nod and say, "Good. You're learning." Learning what? I'd scream inside my head. Learning to hate you. Learning to fear every meal. Learning that love, if this was love, was supposed to hurt. The revelation came with a crackle of old static. Her funeral was a quiet affair. Just me, a priest, and the rain outside. She'd left no instructions, no requests. Just a small box. A box I almost threw away. A box I opened in a moment of weakness, my fingers trembling, my eyes still red from crying. It wasn't filled with photos or keepsakes. It was filled with letters. Dozens of them. All addressed to me. But never sent. The first one, dated from my 5th birthday, read, "My darling boy, today you burned your tongue on a piece of toast. For the first time, you showed me pain, and I saw a flicker of something else. I watched your father, he never felt anything. He was already gone, hollowed out by grief for a child I lost before you were born. The doctors said I was too sick to carry you. Too weak. They said you'd be born frail, that you'd never survive childhood. But I refused to believe them. I had to make you strong. I had to make you feel everything. The heat, the pain, it was the only way I knew to ensure you'd survive. Every meal I made for you was a prayer for a life I was terrified you wouldn't live to see." I dropped the letter. My hands were shaking. I picked it up, my vision blurry, and read it again. And again. Another letter, dated from my 15th birthday. Today you came home with a black eye. You told me you'd fallen, but I saw the truth. You'd fought. You'd defended yourself. The boy who hit you was twice your size, but you didn't back down. My heart swelled with pride. And then I remembered. Remembered the chili I'd fed you that morning. Remembered how you'd cried, but kept eating. You didn't know it, but I was building your armor. Every burn was a shield. Every tear was a sword. You're not weak. You never were. You just needed to discover it. I opened another, and another. Each one was a testament to her love. A chronicle of her fear. She couldn't cook bland food, it would have meant she didn't care. She had to remind me I was alive, even if it meant hurting me. She was building my resistance. Not out of spite, but out of sheer, desperate terror of losing me. The same terror that had hollowed out my father. The same terror that had driven him to leave us, unable to face another loss. One letter, written when I was 18, I see you packing. You're leaving for college. You think you're escaping. And maybe you are. But I want you to know something. Every meal I fed you was a lesson. This world is going to burn you. It's going to cut you and scrape you and leave you bleeding. But you will survive. Because I taught you how. You will endure the heat, and you will come out stronger. Don't hate me. Please. Hate the world. It deserves it. But don't hate me. I was just trying to save you. Her final letter, dated just a week before she passed, was brief and scrawled in shaky handwriting. I know you think I don't love you. I see it in your eyes when you look at me. The resentment. The anger. And I accept it. But I have prepared you for a world that is sharper and hotter than any chili. You will survive, because I made sure you could endure it all. Forgive me. Your mother, who always burned for you. I sat there for hours. The letters scattered around me like fallen leaves. The rain had stopped outside, but inside me, a storm was raging. 20 years. 20 years I'd carried this weight. This belief that I was unloved. And all along, I was the most loved child in the world. Loved so fiercely, so desperately, that my mother was willing to become the villain of my story just to keep me alive. I looked at the kitchen one last time. The stove was cold. The air was empty. The silence was deafening. I walked over to the pot of leftover stew she'd made the day she died. It was still on the stove, untouched. I took a spoonful and put it in my mouth. It was still fiery. Still a challenge. Still that familiar burn that had haunted my childhood. But this time, the heat wasn't a punishment. It wasn't cruelty or control. It was a hug. A warm, fierce, desperate embrace from a woman who had spent her entire life terrified of losing me. I swallowed. The tears came. Hot and fast, just like the chili. I laughed through the tears. A broken, messy sound that echoed in the empty kitchen. My mother's cooking was a weapon. But not against me. It was a weapon forged to protect me. A weapon she wielded against the world, knowing full well that the only casualty would be her own relationship with her son. I walked out of that kitchen a different man. The bitterness was gone. The resentment had evaporated. All that was left was gratitude. And a burning love that I'd never have the chance to return. But I carry it with me. Every day. Every meal. Every time something in this world tries to burn me, I remember her face. I remember her hands. I remember the love she poured into every fiery dish. And I smile. Because now I know. It wasn't poison she was feeding me. It was armor,